Welcome to another episode of Culinary School Stories, the weekly podcast that is dedicated to sharing the stories of people around the globe whose lives have been influenced, impacted, touched, and or enriched, for good or for bad, from their culinary school experience. Hi, my name is Colin Roach, and I'm your host. Thanks for joining us today. You are an important part of this show, where we ask the question, what's your culinary school story? So now, without any further delay, let's meet today's guest. Okay, a big hello to all the listeners out there, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Culinary School Stories podcast, a proud member of the Food Media Network. My guest today is a graduate of the restaurant school of Walnut Hill College and has worked in the food service industry for just about 25 years. She lives in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and has a great culinary school story. And with that said, it is my pleasure to introduce today's guest, Keisha Prosser. Keisha, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for reaching out to hear about my story in the culinary arts field. So I'm excited for that.
Great. I know we're going to get to it all. I can't wait. But let's start out with our first question, going all the way back to the beginning. What got you into food? What got you into cooking?
To me, it was real simple. Right when I got out of high school, my mom and dad was like, okay, summer's over. What you going to do? I didn't want to go to college. I was like, no, I'm not. And so I left Philadelphia for 2 years and I traveled around the world. I traveled around, different states. And then when I came back home, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So when I thought about it, I said, you know what? Food service. This is the only career, one of the careers that you can get a job and then you can leave whatever home you're from, state, city, and you can get a job in like 3 months. So I was like, you know what? This is it. So from there on, I was in my 20s and I just took off and never changed my career. It's always been in food. I might have, dipped in baking. I might have dipped over here and now I'm teaching. I dipped over here, volunteer, but it was always in food. My hands always been in food. So I'm excited for that, to know that when I leave Philadelphia and I go somewhere else, I can get a job in 3 months.
Yeah, that's true. There's always a restaurant job or food service available for someone to jump into. Now, how did that transition into culinary school? So you found your passion, and then what just made you decide to go to culinary school? And what made you pick the school that you did, the restaurant school?
Well, my son, as a kindergartner, he won the scholarship that he go to college. His family can go to college too. So he won a full scholarship to college. I won a full scholarship to college, and my daughter earned partial scholarships to college. So we all, right now, my daughter's in college. Me and my son have his bachelor's degree in Madai. That was in Buffalo, New York. I had mine in a restaurant school because I always wanted to go. I even wrote a letter. You have to write a letter to get in. I wrote the letter like 3 years before I even went there. So it was so funny. It was like, I knew I was going. I just didn't know how I was going to pay for it because it was like a house and a car note. I was like, wait a minute, I don't have a house and a car note to go to college right now. So I wrote the letter. It stayed somewhere in the house. You know how you just shuffle something somewhere. And 3 years later, my son won a scholarship. It was through Say Yes to Education here in Philadelphia. And I was like, wow, when the time came, I was like, I already know what school I'm going to. I already wrote my letter. And it was just like, and I didn't have to pay for anything. All I had to do was go to school. And that was one stress release that was off the table. When you go to school, you try to worry about, how you're going to pay every month, the tuition and stuff. So I didn't have that worry. So I was blessed for that. And I just enjoyed myself at school.
Wow. What a program that is. You got to go and your son for free to any school. What was the name of it? Is it a Philadelphia or a Pennsylvania type program?
Well, no, it's all around the world. It started it's in Philadelphia. It started in Philadelphia at the Belmont chapter in Philadelphia in 89, 9-ish, 8 in the 80s. And it's from George Rice. And he went to University of Penn. And he's a awesome guy. I call him. I tell my son, I was like, hey, that's your godfather. He sent you to college. He paid for everything. Like, hey, that's the guy right there.
Yeah.
It was just so nice. He have a lot of chapters. He had one. He adopted Syracuse. He adopted Ohio. He adopted New York, Connecticut. What other state did he go to? He went to a lot of other states. Yes, and they won scholarships.
So he's helped a lot of people go further their
Yes.
education. Wow. Good
Yes,
for him.
yes, and they family and they families.
Wow. Wonderful. Wow. So you already knew you were going to go to the restaurant school, and now you found out, wow, what a blessing, you got it paid for.
Yes.
You already had your letter, so you signed up. What was it like your first day? Now you're going, you're excited, you've been dreaming for years to go to this school. Here you are. Walk us through what's going on.
All right, so I was a part-time student because I had, I was a mother, so I was a part-time student. So waking up at 5 a.m. so I can get to class at 6 a.m. Whew, I tell you, you need to have a good support group behind you when you're going to school, regardless if you're a single mother, if you're just out of high school, you just need a good support group because they can understand. They can cry with you. They can help you out. They can help you with your homework. They can eat your projects. So it's good to have a good support group that's going to be honest with you and supportive. But when I went to school, I was a little nervous, but I wasn't because half of the people was like my age because a lot of people was going back to change their careers. A lot of people was going back because they was like, oh, this is what I want to do for fun. A lot of people was going back because they just wanted that educational background. I was one that needed that certificate. Like I've been baking for years and cooking for years. And I was like, okay, all right. And then, I was like, let me put a name behind my name because that's when people really believe you. Like they just don't believe you when you're just Chef Keisha. But you like, Chef Keisha, I went to the restaurant school. They be like, oh my God, let me taste your food. I was sitting there like, what's the difference?
Gives you credibility, right?
Right. So I was like, all right, I'll take it. I was like, all right, I'll take it. And I was like, what's the difference? But I get with the credibility, but sometimes it's like, I just want to stand on my own demerit, but, people just be like, nah, that's not good enough for them. But it was nice. So, I had to learn you learn how to deal with people. You learn how to deal with every background. And it was just fun. Like my youngest teacher was younger than me. And I was like, wait a minute, she's teaching me and she's younger than me? I was like, something's wrong here. So that's where I found my passion in teaching was at the restaurant school. So my teachers, I talked to certain ones. I was like, I'm teaching kids now. Like, what should I do? And they was like, just keep them busy. Whatever you do, just keep them busy. And I was like, okay, that makes sense.
So these teachers were the inspiration for you to go into teaching. You're like, if they can do it, I can do it.
Right. Yeah. And plus it was easy. They wasn't sweating. They knew the problems. One of my teachers said, absorb him like a sponge. And I was like, oh, that was like the best analogies I ever had for school, for anything, for life. And I ended up having to tell my son and daughter. My daughter was like, I liked it. I was like, yes. So ask the questions. Find out why. The biggest thing with people is we don't give them why things is happening. So people don't be like, a lot of people don't like to be told what to do. So be like, go over there and clean these dishes for me. You're like, why am I cleaning dishes?
Yeah.
Well, if you clean the dishes now, later on, you don't have to do them. Or if you clean the dishes now, we're going to have something to eat on. And it changed people's attitudes. It changed people's spirits when you give them that why. So one of my teachers was like, make sure you always have a why. Make sure you always know what's going on. Why the bread didn't rise right? A couple of reasons why the bread didn't rise right. Killed the yeast over 140. You killed the yeast. You killed, what else you did? You didn't use the right bread. You didn't use the right flour. You put too much salt. You put too much sugar. Like, there's so many reasons why you killed the bread. And when people understand that, what happened? They'll do right. Like one thing I love to do, I make cookies for kids. Kids love, oh my God, my students love to make cookies. And I know when they do something wrong and they be like, Dad, how you know that? I was like,
I learned it.
I was like, you ain't put enough butter. Everything is white. Sugar is white, flour is white, baking soda is white, salt is white. You put one of these, you put too much in, or you thought something was something else because you wasn't reading. So, that's the joy. That's, that will be always my tip.
Now, the restaurant school, was that 2-year program or was it a certificate? Was it an associate, bachelor's?
I got associates. So it was a 2-year program for me. They do have bachelor's. They do have bachelor's program. I didn't go back for that because I was just like overloaded. I was like, I'm done. I'm tired. Sure. So I was like, I take this. Look, I'll take this and ride with it because I had the experience. I just, like you said, I just needed that name and credibility behind my name. So I was good with that.
Did you find some of the classes then were, really not needed? You were already advanced. You were beyond those classes, or you still learned something from them all?
I learned something from all. I really wasn't no I hate sitting. I was just hate being in the classroom. I was like, oh, I'm back in the classroom. Can we go back in the kitchen? And we learn everything from the kitchen. So, like, we had to learn French because we went to Paris, and um, I learned French and totally forgot. Right when they landed us back to Philadelphia, totally forgot French. I was like, it let me live for 7 days.
So you got to go on a trip to France in the program?
Yes, for a whole week.
Wow, how was that?
That was I cried. And the reason why I cried because I was like, I don't know when I'm coming back over here. So to see the Eiffel Tower right in front of your face was like the best thing to see for me. Me and my girlfriends, we cried. We're still friends on to this day. We cried. We was like, oh my God, we gotta come back. We don't have to rush. I drank wine. You would drink. If you don't drink, you would drink 7:00. Well, their time would be 7:00. I think our time would be like 12 in the morning. You would drink wine early in the morning, like you would drink wine. I was like, oh my God. So you would eat grapes, you would drink wine, you would eat chocolate, you would just you would eat all the French richy foods. And when I came back home from Paris, it took me, and I love chocolate. Oh, I love chocolate. It took me 3 months to eat chocolate again. It took me a while to eat a grape, and I did not want to see no wine. Like it just overlooked. I was like, 1 week, y'all killed me for 1 week. But it was an awesome experience. We went to the caves. We went to it was a good experience. If I tell people to travel, I travel outside the country just to learn their culture and the history you will come back home with a whole different outlook on life.
Yeah, different perspective. It's changes everything.
Yes, it will.
So tell me about culinary school. Tell me about the classes. What was your favorite class? What was your worst class? What did you like the best? Why? Tell us a little bit about the day to day when you were in those labs.
So I went to school between 2 and 3 times a week. Saturday was like the major class because we had to be in the morning time, and and it was like an all day process. But I like the labs, more than me. I like the labs because the labs was fun. Like we had 3 kitchens you work out of. You had the baking side where you mix everything, and then you had like the cooking side where you had to cook some of the pastries, and then in the middle room was like the finish room where you finish up all the pastries and send them out because they used to sell the pastries. Whatever the students made, they used to sell. They had like a little cafe. So everyone liked to be around me because you got to use your common sense. So I used a lot of my common sense when you was in school. Please do not lose common sense long you in school. You need it. You need common sense. So everybody used to like working with me because it was like, hey, let's do it this way. Long it gets done, let's do it this way. Make sure you read the recipe 8 times before you get started. Make sure you have all your mise en place next to you. So when I got that class down pat, I used to love it. I was like, come on, all right, I'm ready. And then I used to, and I don't know if I should say this because somebody in the restaurant might hear it, but I'm gonna say it because it's old. I used to eat chocolate mousse because it was so rich. Oh my God, you know how much chocolate mousse, chocolate mousse is real good. So early in the morning, I used to take a scoop of chocolate mousse and just eat it every Saturday. People was like, what? I said, this is my coffee. And then I was up because I ain't drink coffee back then. And I was up. I was like, all right, I'm ready. Like chocolate was my coffee. And people was looking at me and be like, oh my God, you really eat this every day. I said, girl, I'm surprised I ain't a diabetic, got high this, got high that. I ain't had none of that. Because I was always like moving around, running around. And it was like, look at you. I was like, girl, it's what I needed.
That gave you your energy, right? That was your boost.
That was my coffee. I got talking about this is my coffee. And so I love that class. My other class was when the chef used to cook for us. That used to be the favorite, that was my best class because I was like, yes, he cooking for us. And all we had to do was take notes and then eat afterwards. So that was always good.
What was that class? That was like they were doing a demonstration?
Well, because I took pastry arts, they gave us, some introduction to culinary classes because they tell us like you have to cook some of your baked goods and stuff. So they showed us, about the temperatures, the different, the difference, cooking methods and baking methods. So they used to break that. They just gave us that just, because what they say, chefs don't know how to bake. and bakers don't know how to cook. And I'd be like, what?
What?
I mean, it was true. And I was like, what? Like, I know how to do both. What you mean? I'm a mother. I can't pick and choose. I got to do both.
Right.
So
Now, did they give you uniforms and a knife kit and the books, everything when you went there?
yes, I had everything that we had there. We had a nice little uniform. We had to wear a little tie thing that used to drive me crazy. And that's how they could identify what class you was in by your tie. And what else? What else do we have? Yeah, nice little hot uniforms. On to this day, you see, I have a different color chef jacket. I own no white chef jacket. I don't like them.
That was what they gave you in school, right? You're
right,
done with that.
right. And then even when I go to jobs, because I work at different jobs, they give me a white chef jacket. I be like, I'm not wearing that. They be like, wow. I was like, I'm a manager. I don't have to wear. Do I have to wear that? They was like, but it looks so nice. I said, I know it do, but I'm not wearing it. They get so mad at me. I said, that's what I do for a living. I got a choice now to wear whatever type of clothes I want. I get the style. I still wear a chef jacket, but it's different colors. And I was like, y'all see, y'all wasn't with the struggle.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I see you with some color on.
I'm not wearing white. I'll keep it clean.
Right.
So tell me, now that you have some perspective to it, what is it that you wish you knew before you went? Like if someone was going to go to that school now, what's some advice that you would tell them? Like, hey, you should know this before you get there. Something that you wish you had known.
Read ahead of time. Read, do your research, figure out what you want to do. Because when I seen a list of things that's in the food service industry, and the list was like endless. It was like food photography. It was like the food bloggers, and it was just so many opportunities. You don't have to be a chef to be in the food industry world. Like you don't have to have a restaurant and be a big chef to be known in the food service world. So I would tell people to take a photography class. Now, for all this long time, you thought I would know about cameras, camcorders. I don't know nothing. I'm learning now because we're in this pandemic. And I'm like, why didn't I learn this when I was in school? Like, this is important. Why don't they have a class like this? Because why? What's the first thing they say we eat with?
Rice.
Right. So why don't we have a photography class if that's the first thing we eat with? So I'm sitting here I'm babbling through my head, and my mom looking at me like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh, nothing, Mom. I'm just learning something I think I should have learned when I was in college. But that's just me, teaching yourself how to write a blog, because that's the new thing now, and describing the food and making someone want to eat it right then and there. Like, learn how to do that. Learn how to just get used to everybody blending attitudes and cultures and understanding where they come from, their backgrounds, besides always just getting upset or flaring off, because you're co-mingling with everybody, especially if you're not a person that co-mingle a lot. Start learning how to do that before you go to school, so you can feel comfortable, so you can get out your shell. Learn how to share more, because everyone don't know everything. And a person that know everything, to me, I think they should just share everything, because it's enough people in food to go around. So no one can touch what you do. When I do, I learned when I do expos, I give away the recipe that I'm demoing, and people will be so surprised. And I was like, man, God gave me 1,000,000 of them. If I give you one, would that hurt me?
Right. And
everybody was like, you know what, Dad, that's the first time somebody ever said that and not scared. I was like, go ahead. It's all right. It don't hurt me none, and I want everybody, don't feel scared to share, because it's not going to hurt you. It's just, to me, I feel like it's going to hinder you some, because I gave you a chicken parm recipe, do not mean that both of our chicken parms is going to taste the same. Mm-hmm. You're going to add something. I'm not going to add something. I don't believe in adding this. You believe in adding that. So don't get scared when someone asks you for a recipe or something. Like, just throw something in there, so just don't put this special ingredient in there and let them figure it out themselves. So stuff like that. So
you're giving them the recipe, but not 100%.
Right. I ain't say spike it, but give them the basic, because now people don't know the basics. So that's what I really went to school for, to find basics, and then with my basics, I could take it to whatever level I want to. So those was like my fun class, my educational class. Like I said, my why classes. Like anything was a why to it. I loved it. because it was like, oh, I had to learn. Some classes I fell right to sleep in. Them lecture classes, English classes, those. I was like, what?
Not good.
I just got off work and you talking? Like, no, it's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. So, yeah, but I know that they had to give it to us.
Yeah, those classes weren't too exciting to you. But now that you're a teacher and you're looking back from that point of view, how do you think, or could they have done to make them more engaging, more active? What could they have done, teachers, to make the students, more engaged in it?
I think more little activities, because after the person worked 9 to 5 and then got to come to class and sit down, it's like your brain, how they say, your brain farts. You like blah, ooh, huh? Like you skipping every other word because you just sat down from a long day of work. So I would say like have fun activities about food. Like nothing boring. Please don't ask me what I'm eating every day because I don't know. I used to hate that. I used to hate that assignment. Oh, I used to hate that assignment. I was like, what? I gotta stay focused on what I ate. I ate a annihilator for breakfast. Like why is you asking me?
You had chocolate mousse, right?
Right. No, you're not judging me. So stuff like that. But you just got to figure out how you can take what the class is giving you and just use it inside your everyday life or inside your business that you're trying to grow. With me, I hate lectures and I still do on to this day. I hate meetings on to this day. So I try when I have to have one, I want to be right at the point. Let's say it. Let's do it. Let's go. Because, after a while, after you say it, you end up start talking like we're friends. And you'll be like, this was not part of the meeting. I got to go. So, so I learned not to be so long-winded because people don't have, like now, our attention spans is real short now. Mm-hmm. 10 minutes, we out.
So thinking about culinary school, I know it was free for you, but if you had to have paid and all the time and all the homework and the sacrifices you had to make, was it worth it? I mean, would you do it again? Say if you had to pay, would you recommend it to others?
I would do it again because that was one of my dreams and one of my passions that I wanted to go to the restaurant schools. So yes, I would do it again. I think I might study a little bit more harder. And I think about like, hey, I know this. Like, I think I would study a little bit more harder. And another thing I think to me, they should give something that they should give us, like, they gave us art. It was okay, but it could have been more like food art, not art, whatever the art classes that they gave me. Books is crazy. I wish I wouldn't have had to pay for if I had to pay for books, I would have been crying. Oh yeah, because books was crazy. And yeah, I would pay. I would actually pay and really, really, really get on my professor's nerves. They would have known me like, yes, Ms. Prosser, please stop asking.
You've been the sponge.
But another class, But another class, I think they really didn't expand on. We had an entrepreneur class. I didn't, and it sticks with me a little bit sometimes. I didn't like the fact that when it was time, they talked about business, but it was like they didn't really get into it. They was like, write a business plan. And they give you like the format of how to write a business plan. It was like, oh, you got to get insurance. Well, what type of insurance? You have to get your license. Well, what type of license? Like, I think they didn't really cover that good enough because then it's like, I got to go to a business school to get all the information that I think I should have got at the culinary school because how much money I paid for it. Mm-hmm. So, that was some things that I noticed after I got out. I was like, how I start a business? Y'all did not really give me a tool to start a business. Y'all were just like, oh, you could be a top chef. And I'm like, okay, well, what? So that was just me. I don't know everybody else's experience, how they looked at that class, It
was more of an introduction. They didn't really get into the depth of it. Maybe that was 4th year or something.
Yeah.
Good. What is one common myth about culinary school or about the industry or working in a kitchen, being a chef that you want to debunk, that people believe, but you're like, no, that's not true, and I want to clarify it? What is one of those myths?
Oh, when you get out of culinary school, you're going to be a top chef. Or when you get out of culinary school, you're going to have this big $1 million business. Or when you get out of culinary school, I'm hitting them. You laughing. I see your head went up. You're like, oh, yes, they do.
That's one of the favorites by a lot of guests on this show. They're like, you're not going to be Emeril Lagares. You're not going to be on the Food Network. You're not going to be a celebrity chef right out of culinary school. You're not going to be a chef, period, out of culinary school.
Right. Don't be big-headed. Like it's endless. So it's endless. But and you're not going to be clean. Put it that way. So don't be.
Do you get a lot of people coming up to you when you have your chef coat on, asking you questions like, what's your favorite recipe, or how is it to be a chef, or I want to be a chef?
Oh, yes, I do. So I learned not to have this off when I'm in the supermarket. Because one time, this is a true story. One time I'm in the supermarket and I teach at the free library. So I'm crunched for time. Like my students had everything already set up. Oh, they was waiting for just me. So I'm like, what are we going to make today? Oh my God, what can we make? Let me just grab chicken. Let me just grab some sauces. And then somebody was like, oh, I see that you're a chef. And I was like, God damn it. Why do I got this drinking away? Like, this is not the time. Like, I'm like, yes, how can I help you? Like, and I had to realize, like, just always be nice, because you don't know who got the camera on. It's because the day is about the camera. And I'm like, yes. And he was like, am I bothering you? And I was like, a little, yes, I'm late for class. I got to teach the class. And I'm like, listen, just come to the library and I will answer any question you got to answer. So he was like, what you think I should have for dinner? I had such and such last night. I had this last night. And I'm looking at him like, no, this is not the time. This is not the time.
I tell my students that that jacket has power. If you don't believe me, just put it on and go stand at the meat counter at the grocery store. You'll get people, is this a good cut of meat? How do I cook that? They don't even know that it's your first day in culinary school. You put the jacket on, you are a chef.
Oh, and I used to tell, so I worked at Whole Foods and I was in the meat department. And you're right, because I had to help out in the meat department. So I'm sitting here like, all right, y'all, I don't really do this meat thing. So tell me what I need to do. But I was good with talking with customers. So they noticed that. They was like, oh, you good with talking with customers. I said, listen, the golden rule, $3.50. A little bit of olive oil, some salt and pepper, 20 minutes. That's the golden rule. They was like, Keisha, don't you do that to people. I said, it works. Am I right? But am I right, chef?
Yeah.
They was like, how you do this? I said, listen, they don't know. So what's the use?
Right.
Look, they was like, I said, and there's no determined temperatures is one, I said, just learn these temperatures right here, because you got your meat right here. I said, so put temperatures right here so you know the temperature. So when somebody asks you a temperature of pork, you could be like 155. You could, and they gonna swear you know something.
Yeah.
But you just gotta play along. You gotta play along. You
gotta have that confidence.
Yes. It was like, you was not right. And I was like, hey, listen, you gotta listen.
Another situation that I always find myself is if I'm on an airplane and someone says, so what do you do? I'm always like, oh no, I don't want to say. If you say, oh, I'm a chef, oh my God, they'll be like, oh, I always wanted to be one. What's your favorite recipe? And there's the door is open. So now I'm like, I'm a teacher, or I'm in education. Try not to tell that chef word.
Yes, that's what I say. Yes. It's so funny. Because now that I teach cooking classes, people's like, I already know how to cook. So my mom, she's always next to me, and she was like, she's really not, she teaches more than just cooking. It's like, she teaches about sanitation, she teaches about temperatures, she teaches about you stop eating all that sugar and just reduce it. She was like, just because it's healthy, you don't have to put your face up to it. And I be cracking up. And so when they take the class, they be like, oh my God, I learned so much. I can't believe that you do all this. That's all. I mean, and I was just looking at people like, oh God, like, okay. I was like, yes, y'all. Sometimes you got to take something for the experience and have fun. It's not all about, I'm not disrespecting grandma and auntie and mommy. We got to educate each other. So, it's so funny. Yes, wearing this chef jacket is hilarious. And my neighbors, they love it. When I walk out the door, oh, my neighbor eyes, they lit up. They be like, what we making today? What we sampling today? And I be looking at them like, oh, y'all really serious? Like because they know my kids don't eat. Because my kids, they work and they, kids, they run around and everything. And they're in their 20s. So
whatever,
20-year-olds, they eat what they want to eat. And my neighbors be like, I saw you go live. Where's it at? I made breakfast pizza. My neighbor wrote, here I come. And I'm like, what is like on the live? I'm like, oh my God. Wow. People be like that. So yeah, she love it. So like you said, this jacket do get you in trouble.
Yep. Opens doors, but it also can get you in trouble.
Yes.
Okay, so now you're out of culinary school and you've had lots of different jobs. You talked about, working for Whole Foods Market and other ones, but now you have two kind of jobs that I'd like you to tell us about if you can, which is you're the food service manager for a school district, and also you have the mobile cooking teacher. So if you could tell us about those two and, where you're at, where they're going, and a little bit of explanation on those.
So right now I work with a charter school, and I am the food service manager there. It's nice. I was excited because I just started in January, and then 3 months later, here we go with the pandemic. I'm like, oh great, this is like wow. So now when we go back to work, everything is totally different.
Yeah.
So every day I pray about that because it's like, okay, how can we stay safe? Job is to make sure everybody stays safe. So I've been, reading up on that, how we can keep everything not go back to normal, but have a new norm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of my challenging for the school. I serve 1,200 kids every day, breakfast and lunch.
Wow.
From K to 8, from K to 12. So it's a nice big school here in Philadelphia. So I'm excited about that. And then after I finish that, from 6 to 3, I teach cooking classes.
Wow.
Right. So I go right on into I'm back in my teaching mode. And I started that company in 2015. The reason how I got started with Reason Keys Mobile Cooking Teacher was the man, Joyce Rice, that gave me the scholarship. He voluntarily gave me his money. So it was like, how can I give back to the community? Because he gave back to the community. How can I give back to the community? So we had a camp every summer called Freedom School. So I was like, hey, whatever I learned in school, let me teach the students how to cook. So they was like, oh, we're going to have a cooking class. I was like, yes, we're going to have a cooking and baking class. So I made up a little agenda. That's when I really was talking to my teachers, was like, what do I need to do? Like, what did I just put myself up into? So my class was always ranked number 1 because everyone, we had no kitchen. So I had to create a kitchen. So we had portable everything. Our refrigerator was a cooler. I had a cooler and I had ice in. I had a gallon of water, and I used to freeze the gallon of water overnight time. So the gallon of water was to keep the food cold, all the parents was food cold. So when it was time for cooking classes at 1:00, the water by then had defrost. And guess what? That's what we drank. That's when we made juice and stuff like that from that water from the jugs. It was like, y'all.
Resourceful.
When I say I had to learn how to take it from scratch so I learned so much from just being portable. So that's what a mobile cooking teacher comes from. Like, you can give me a blank slate and we're going to make it happen. We going to put it together. So that's how I started that. And the students loved it. They always wanted to make cookies. So I had to learn how to make cookies into a math project. And when I did that as a math project, I showed them 2 sticks is what? 1 cup. How many sticks is in? How many tablespoons is in a stick? How many, so they didn't know this. A lot of students thought sugar and flour, it looked alike, but they didn't know, don't mix it together. No, you can't dump everything in that. So I taught them what I learned, I taught them. And on to this day, when I see certain students, they was like, oh my God, Miss Keisha, I miss you. Thank you for teaching me this. I'm cooking now. I have 3 students that went to culinary school. One of them went to JNA. One of them went to the Art Institute. One of them did go to the restaurant school. I could say 2 out of the 3 did graduate. All 3 is still working in the food service industry. So I'm happy to see that. And then I see a lot of mothers that they're mothers now. And they was like, I'm cooking for my sons and daughters. Oh my, they loving it all because of you. And it just brings a joy to my heart when I see that. I feel like, okay, I'm doing something right. So that's that. Now I do it. Well, before the pandemic, I was in daycares, and the preschool students, they loved it. They actually knew how to make homemade chocolate chip cookies. They memorized the recipe. So we was so surprised. I was like, wow, y'all not even in pre-K yet. Y'all ready to go to pre-K or kindergarten next year. And you remember, how to do it. I never worked with electric blenders. We always use a wooden spoon, because I told them every ancestors had to use a wooden spoon to make some good pastries.
Yeah.
So we did, so they felt connected. I said, so your grandmothers did this, your great grandmoms did that. And I make them go home and ask their parents questions. So when I did see the parents, they were like, there go Miss Keisha, there go Miss Keisha. And she was like, that's all she talk about is you. And I was like, well, I'm happy I'm doing something right.
You're influencing them, you're affecting them.
Yeah, so I was happy for that. And then I was in North Light Community Center. That was in the Maniac section in Philadelphia. And it was a community center, and I taught there. So I taught more of my adult classes there, and adults was happy and satisfied, and they was surprised. I had people coming from Reading. Somebody came from Lancaster to take my class. I was like, wow, y'all traveling for me? I was like, I actually started crying. I was like, I don't know if I would have came from Reading to come see me. That's like an hour and something drive. But, so I had to make sure I made that class worthwhile. So it's exciting. It's exciting. I feel like I'm not where I want to be at. And the pandemic stopped some of my goals because I always wanted to go to Vegas and teach a big cooking class in Vegas. But now it's like, all right, now how can I do this? How can I do this with this pandemic? Pandemic, y'all messed me up. Y'all messing up my goals. I got to reset my goals again. So that's it. My goal is really teach communities how to cook something healthy and safe. And now that we have this pandemic, there's a lot of share programs going around that's giving out free food. Mm-hmm. I do a demo every day showing parents how to cook with the free food that they gave us. Yesterday was, so Saturday, I was with Queen Memorial Library. That's where I teach my cooking classes at. We did a sesame chicken. I used everything up that the share gave me. They gave us grilled chicken in a bag. So the grilled chicken was the sesame. I put the sauce over it, and I made the sauce separate because I know a lot of people's vegan now. So I showed them and told them why. Hear that why part. I told them why. You make the sauce separate from everything else, because if you have vegans, your vegan people can enjoy the food too, because we had broccoli, we had peppers, we had onions, I had rice, or I had noodles. So it was just exciting. And someone noticed that. They was like, thank you for giving us the vegan option. And I was like, look at that there. Always got to remember the vegan people. So yes.
Now you teach a lot of healthy aspects, right? So you're also not only teaching cooking, but how they can change their diets and their health through food.
Yes. So that's the fun part, because I tell them, I said, listen, there's two things that we need to do. We need to lower our sugar. We need to lower our salt intake. So I told them, besides them buying the package of seasoning, go home and make your own seasonings. Because 9 out of 10, you have all the ingredients inside your home in your pantry to make the ingredients. So I show them how to make a jerk rub. I show them how to make a taco rub. I show them how to make a fajita rub, rotisserie chicken rub, and a barbecue rub. And when I saw them, they was like, oh yeah, I do have all these seasons in my house. I was trying to get rid of these seasons. I didn't know what to get rid of, like how to get rid of them. You notice that, my mom's house is, and my mom is an example. She got so much season. I'd be like, Mom, really? You don't even cook no more. So I actually go to her, when I run out of something, I go to her house and I clean her out, and she gets so mad because then when she want to use it, she be like, where's it at? And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, I took that season. But I be like, Mom, you gotta rotate your seasons. Give me that. And she's like, you gonna pay for my seasons? I be like, yeah, I am. So yeah, and they love it. So I did a senior class, and we did the spice kit. And they loved it. The seniors, they made their own spice kits. They put them in the bag, and everyone took home 1/4 cup of spices. They was like, oh, this is a lot. I don't know. I was like, yes. So then when I did my senior class again, they was like, well, can we do the spice kits again? We loved it. That did make sense. And I was like, yes, because you can, what's the use of always looking for, because when you seniors, what's happening? You can't do the salt no more or the sugar no more. What's the use to keep on reading labels when you could just go home and make your own spice? So you don't got to worry about reading it, because you already know you ain't gonna put salt in it.
Right. Perfect.
I'm trying to make it easy for people.
Now, if someone wants to find out more about what you're doing, and how would they do that? Is there a way to contact you? Do you have a website? Is there a way that they can get more information, get involved?
Yeah. So my website is www.keis, KEIS, food, FOD, facts, FACTS.com. You can get in contact me there. Or I love this word right here. You can Google me, mobile cooking teacher.
Great. Well,
I love that part. I love that.
I'll be sure to put the link in the show notes anyway. So if someone is driving or something right now, can't write it down, don't worry about it. You can go back to it and look it up, and they'll have a direct link to those sites.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm on Facebook as mobile cooking teacher and Kids Can Cook PA workshop. The same thing on Instagram, mobile cooking teacher and Kids Can Cook PA workshop. On Instagram, I'm there every day until September. When I go back to work, I'm going to have to change all my times around. But until September the 1st, I'll be on Instagram every day at 6 o'clock, on Facebook every day at 3 o'clock. And I'm trying to work with my YouTube channel because I was like, oh, something else we got to work with. Oh, and we should have, in culinary school, they need to take up filming now, because everything is now about filming. You got to film this, you got to film that. It's always something to add.
Yeah.
Every generation is like something new to add. Drop something and add something. So that's it. That's how you can get in contact with me.
So what's next for you? What's next for Chef Keisha? Where do you see yourself next year, 5 years? What's your big plans?
Oh, yes. I've been writing goals down too. So I'm excited for that. And my goals for my business is, I truthfully, I did not want a building. I didn't, only because I'm already in the building to go inside of another building. I was like, no, that was too many walls. There was too many walls to worry about. But now I noticed that I need a building. So I'm looking for a storefront. I hope by next year, or before I turn a certain number, I ain't gonna say my number. I have my storefront. Another thing, someone want me to invest into a food truck. I told them I'm really not into that, but I was like, all right, I humor you. And another thing is I wanted to have like, and this is me giving back to the community again. We're helping other chefs that's coming in to have an incubator kitchen where they can come and cook their stuff. It's not a lot here in Philly, and it's real hard to get inside that community because it's so expensive. And a lot of people just don't have the money, but still want to give out good food and safe food. So my goal is to see how I can invest in an incubator kitchen where I can have people come, and that mean I could stop working so hard and I could still do my cooking classes there. Like, so it's going to be like a multi-use kitchen. So that's one of my goals that I would love to have on my project. I'm start researching that now. Where is a good location where people don't mind coming? Make sure it's parking. All the good perks when you start charging people, because that's what they be asking for.
Yeah.
So yes, so that's my goal, to have an incubator kitchen. So that's less work for me. So I can really sit back and be like, okay.
You're doing some great things. You're in influence to a lot of people. So I want to turn that for a minute and say, who are 3 people that have been most influential to you? It could be personal, could be professional. Who's someone the 3 people that have influenced you the most?
I could say my family, because if I do, then I would take my 3 people already. So I'm gonna just put my family because it's a lot of them. My family is is a good it's one big bunch. My next is my all my good friends that help me, that tweak me, to tell me like, hey, go in this direction. And every time when I trust them, it's the right landing when it come down to my career, because they see it. They were like, hey, it's a need here. And every time when there's a need somewhere, I like to be there, let people know like, hey, we heard your cries. We're here now. Let's help. Let's do better. So my friends. And another thing, I think just, I could say this experience is like my motivator. Because I look at people when they do stuff and I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Like now you're really, I could say you're one of my inspiration now, because it's like, hey, could I do a podcast? Should I do a podcast? Do I have time for a podcast? Like, it brings, because, because it brings awareness. Like where anything we can bring awareness, and my group will be parents with children, fathers with children, that will be my audience. But would they listen? How could I bring them to my station? So stuff like that. So, that's the question that's on my paper right now. Can I do a podcast? What do it take? How do I get people on? Is it going to be a waste of time? So I could say your inspiration, because we're doing the same thing. We're bringing out food knowledge to a client and get people inspired to do great things with food. So yeah, those are my 3 people.
So that'll be another goal adding to your list. So your list is always growing. Right?
Yes, every year. Oh my God. I'm trying to write down 300 goals now. My girlfriend challenged me to write down 300 goals. I'm like, come on, girl, are you serious? Like, what, 300? But as people, we always put the challenge, right?
Yeah, that's right. Is there a question I haven't asked you yet that I should have? Or is there something that you want to share or tell someone that's going into this career, going to go to culinary school? Is there anything along those lines?
Well, the only thing I could say is be open, be a sponge, always willing to share, know what to share and know how to share, and be kind and have fun. Like, don't stress out. Like, have fun. Make every class fun. Don't be the class clown, but just have fun. Because when you have fun, it's less stress because you're not worrying, so have fun. You're not like, oh my God, I gotta pass this. Like, have fun. Make your classes fun so you can enjoy the experience better than looking back 20 years later, like, oh, I should have did that. Oh, I should have did that. So have fun. Have fun. Like, make it fun, make it enjoyable. If you can make money by selling your products long you in school, if that's going to make you have fun, then do that. So don't, be serious, but at the same time, have fun, because you don't want to miss nothing, because it goes past so fast. Like, the class is 40 minutes. 40 minutes go past fast when you want to learn something. And, you can't get those 40 minutes back. So I am a do believer of having fun. I really do. When I work and I'm a manager, I was like, hey, y'all, let's have some fun, but let's do it safe, because it takes the time, it brings the time. And then you could just, at the end, you could breathe and be like, oh, I had a good day today. Because you know how hard it is to get one of those. We had a good day today. We knocked it out the box, y'all. Like, that's you know what I mean?
Yeah. Life's short. You got to enjoy it a little bit.
Yes. So that's what I want to tell everyone. Enjoy every moment, because when you sit down, you can't go back. It's like a wedding cake. You got to do it one time and one time only.
That's done. So as we come to the end of our chat today, and before we wrap up, is there any last minute advice or guidance that you want to leave with the listeners? Something that you want to share?
Yes. Okay. So I think for all my culinary arts people out here, y'all going to laugh about this. So always keep sunburn with you, because you're going to always burn yourself. Always keep Band-Aids, because you're going to cut yourself. Always keep a smile on your face, because someone's going to get on your nerves before the night is out. So, and just have fun and be safe in the kitchen and learn all that you can learn. And make sure, one more thing, make sure you train your replacement, because it's a joy to just sit there and to see what you learn and you can pour it into someone else.
That's great.
So, yes.
Well, that is just about all the time we have for this episode. And I want to first thank you, Keisha, for coming on the show today and sharing your culinary school story with all of us. Really appreciate your time, your insight, and your honesty.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I can't wait to come back on the show. And this time we might have more than just me. We can have like a big melting pot of chefs having fun, laughing at the food industry, how much fun we had inside the food industry as we retire.
Oh, a panel. That would be great. Okay, thanks again. I really enjoyed our chat. Bye now.
All right, bye-bye.
And a big thanks and appreciation also goes out to all of you, the listeners. We hope you enjoy the show and this episode. You all are a big part of this show, so please let us know what you think. Your comments are always welcome, and they help us in making the best show possible. You can email them to culinaryschoolstories@gmail.com. That's culinaryschoolstories@gmail.com. Or even leave us a voicemail at area code 207-835-1275. That's area code 207-835-1275. And if you like the show, we have a big ask of all of you, and that is to share the podcast with everyone you know, and to give us a positive rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Okay, until our next Culinary School Story, take care and be well. Bye-bye. Culinary School Stories is a proud member of the Food Media Network.